Alright, so what's up? It's Jay. I'm gonna go over some hands-on with the micro cinema camera because I know a lot of people have been asking about this. So here you go, let's get started. First thing I need to make sure is the battery. The Canon LPE6 is in there. It's installed. I have the SDXC card right here, which is also installed. So let's go ahead and power it on. Buttons right here somewhere. Okay. Tilting the camera up smoothly. Can hear the ducks. Alright, small HD 501 here. I have the Canon LPE6 on the back, so it's ready to roll. I have the HDMI cable. Let's go ahead and power that on as well. Alright, so the first thing I do is make sure that my SD card is formatted. So I'll go to menu, go to setup, go down to card, format, choose format. HFS Plus is Mac, exFAT is Windows. Make sure you do that correctly because I just messed up on that last time. So go ahead and exit out of that. I already pre-formatted this SD card, so it's good to go. Save some time. So the next thing I will go over is the camera settings. So make sure that I'm shooting in the right codec, which is RAW. You can change it to RAW 3.1, ProRes, you know the deal. But I shoot RAW because that's why we got this camera for. The dynamic range is going to be film for now because it's shooting RAW. Frame rate is 24 frames per second. You can go 25 if you're in PAL, 29.97 if you're in broadcast, 30 frames per second is NTSC, same thing, but I shoot 24 frames per second. Time lapse is off, we're not doing time lapse. Auto exposure is going to be manual. ISO is 800, which is the camera's native ISO. Shutter angle is going to be 180. White balance is 5600K. And that's just 5600K because it's RAW, so the white balance is actually just metadata. You can change that later in post. Okay, let's change that back to 5600. Alright, let's go to audio. Now, I don't use the audio on the camera because I use external recorders, but sometimes I need this for scratch tracks, so I have it on anyway. So I have it at 90%, mic high, 46%. Channel 2 uses channel 1 input, meaning that it's just going to clone itself, same level, so and so forth. For monitoring, I have the HDMI overlays on so I can see my settings on my HDMI monitor here. Frame guides I do have on, 235:1. Guide opacity is 100. HDMI meters, which is the volume is both. Composite, NTSC, focus peaking is off because I'm using the focus peaking from the monitor. The dynamic range is going to be film because the small HD 501 it inputs 3D LUTs, so I can actually have a 3D LUT coming in the camera. So I can leave that as film, and I'll show you how to use this camera when using a standard HDMI monitor later as well. I have the zebra off, I don't need it, and then the light in front of the camera, I just have that on low. Display battery percentage is on. Moving on. Okay. So after I have all that set up, we're gonna go on the main screen here. First thing I will do, like I said, the small HD 501 has a lot of features, and you can see that my focus peaking is on. I have a waveform monitor right here in the bottom right. So what I usually do is change my aperture, and if I want, I can actually get a bigger waveform monitor right there. Fix my exposure here, go back, take a look. Alright, so I'm changing my aperture here, so 2.2. I'm gonna go ahead and focus her real quick. Alright, now we have it focused. We can double check the exposures again just to make sure her face is where you want it at. You can see it's right here, so turn that up a little bit. And that looks pretty good right there. 2.0. After I have all that settings, I just press record and call it a day. That is pretty much how I use this camera. Now, if you're using a standard HDMI monitor and you don't have all these features, I'll show you how to do that as well. I will turn off all the features that this camera has. So the look, focus assist, waveform. So really, it's just a normal monitor for you. First thing we have to do is go to monitoring. We have to change the dynamic range now to video because we want to be able to see the exposure correct. we want to be able to focus a little bit better, because you can compare this. If I go to focus peaking, I'm sorry, not focus peaking, sorry. Wind. Stupid wind. Okay, so comparing this, if we go to the dynamic range of film, that's very hard to gauge. You can't really tell. It's really hard to set the exposure like that, because it's log footage. So if you have a standard monitor without LUT, you have to go to dynamic range and set that to video, so you can easily, look at what you're shooting, and you can focus better. So yeah, that is how I shoot with a micro cinema camera. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and like always, thanks for watching.